winning at UNLV last season, what did that do as far as your ultimate success?
It was a big part of it. I think our guys just finding a way to win in overtime there and win in the last play of the game really played a role in them starting to believe in themselves and knowing that they could find a way to win. And then we kind of did the same thing a couple weeks later at Monroe on the last-second field goal. But I just think it really made them buy in even more to how hard we work and the way we do things and then how that pays off. So it was a big win for us that helped spring us forward for the rest of the season.
Has there been carryover effect to, I know it's only one game in, but have you sensed any carryover effect to this season?
Yeah, I mean, I think just the success of last year carried over all summer and through fall camp, and our guys, I mean, they've really known how to work for about the last 3 years, but our big thing last year was expect to win, and then as the season went on, they did expect to win more and more, so there's definitely been a carryover.
What about specifically for Winnican? How much does that play into what he was able to do?
I think it played into it. I think a big thing for him was just as he got healthier as the year went on. Early in the year, he had missed all spring ball and a lot of fall camp, so I think that was the fourth game of the year, and I think just each week he played better and better because he got healthier and just felt better planning on that foot, moving around and doing different things.
Great. Thanks for your time, Coach.
Thank you.
All right, Coach, you told me yesterday you thought UNLV played much better than the scoreboard reflected. In what ways did they kind of impress you?
They ran the ball really well. Offensively, I thought they did some nice things schematically. I thought both their running backs ran hard. Their quarterback ran with the ball well. He's very athletic. Boyd's a really good receiver, and then they got Keys coming back this week. So they got a lot of talent on offense. They got a lot of weapons, big play guys. So I think just as you watch the game, probably what jumped out at you the most is how well they ran the football.
You specifically mentioned Rogers and Boyd being playmakers for the offense and their running style. What specifically have you kind of seen from them in the film you've watched so far?
Boyd's a receiver, and he can get in out of his breaks real well, catches the ball, and makes things happen. I think their running backs just run with really good pad level, break tackles, do a good thing there. And then, the big quarterback, he's just a young guy that runs around and makes plays. He's a big, good-looking guy. He's got good speed. You can just see he's very athletic, and he's a good football player.
Specifically, how do you counter that then?
You got to tackle well. You got to make sure everybody does their job because it's a lot of different types of zone reads and quarterback power read and different things where they're reading somebody. So we got to all make sure we're all in our gap, and we're gap sound, and everybody does their job and doesn't try to do somebody else's job, and that's when you get, hit for big plays because then they're going to, between their running backs and their quarterback, if they hit a hole and you're not in it, they're going to get a big play. So we got to make sure we're all in our gaps.
One thing you kind of emphasized after Thursday's win was developing better pass protection. I think you even said you mixed in 3 different guys at one tackle position. So you're starting to get a better feel for how you're going to set that up, or is it still kind of somewhat of an open competition there?
Well, we've only had Sunday's practice since I talked to you last, so we still got, today's a big practice, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. So I think Sean played better than any of them in the second half. Sean played well. As of right now, I'd say he's taken a big step in front of the other 2 guys. But that's the beauty of practice and competition. So we're always going to try to get better every single day in practice and always have the competition out there to improve. So we got to have 3 great days here in a row of practice and be ready to go out there and execute.
Based on what I read about UNLV's first game, it seemed like the penalties were a problem. You can clean that up. It seemed like they could score points. That wasn't a big thing. But defensively, were they not getting lined up right? Were they tackling poorly? Were they just beat by better athletes? What's going on with their defense?
They were lined up right. They were pretty basic on what they did defensively. I think they got caught by a really hot young quarterback that could make plays. They were there a lot. There was a couple times 1 or 2 guys were there really to make the play on him. So I don't think it was anything schematically. I think they were definitely where they needed to be, and young Newton just made a bunch of plays, to be honest with you. He really played well and broke tackles and made people miss, and then when you have somebody that but that's a good of a player. He makes the guys around him better. I think as much as anything, it was just the quarterback they went against.
So you're expecting a better effort from their defense this week?
They're a good team. We took us the last play of the game to beat them last year, and I anticipate that this game will probably come down to the last play again this year for what team comes out on top, to be honest with you.
Kind of speaking on that same defensive note, I believe they only returned 2 starters from last year's unit. I know you can't dive into the specifics of the game plan, but do you have to completely scrap that, or is there still some things from last year that you can kind of utilize?
Yeah, I mean, I think you always, what we do anyway, we do like a game plan on people. We pick out a couple teams who we're going to game plan in the winter. They're one of them. So you do a game plan then you get through spring ball, then you kind of do another game plan in the summer by what they do and what you do well. And then this week we're doing another game plan. So I think between the 3 of them, by what they're doing and by what we're doing and who their personnel is, you kind of come up with what your game plan is, and then you got to be ready to adjust during the game. They lost a couple really good players off of last year's team, no question. That middle linebacker, 55, was a heck of a player. That big safety, 44, was a really good player. So they lost a couple good players, but it's going to be the second start for a bunch of their guys, and I'm sure they'll play way better. But schematically, they were a little bit different last week than last year. Last year, they brought a lot more pressure and did a lot of different things, and they were pretty basic last week. Now, sometimes you have to be when you're playing against a running quarterback. So whether they'll be like that against us, I'm not sure.
One of Mason's former high school teammates, Joe Lang, kind of returns to the Palouse for UNLV as a long snapper. He also played with his brother Cameron and David Unger for the Greyhounds a few years ago. I got a chance to talk with Joe. He said there's been a little bit of friendly smack talk between the group leading up to this weekend's game. Have you heard much about that battle for Palouse bragging rights?
Not really, no. Joe's a heck of a player. He's a really good long snapper. He was a good center in high school. So wish he would have played with Mason all 3 years. But he's a good player, and I'm sure they're doing that to each other, but I really haven't heard about it.
Without getting into the weeds with injuries, did you do much with your depth chart this week, or not?
Not really. And again, we got 3 more days of practice. But if we played right now, there wouldn't be a whole lot different on it. No, really, nothing at all. But that's why you practice every week, and I've always made practice a very big evaluator around here. And when guys practice hard, they're going to play more. And if they have a bad week of practice, they might have played a lot the week before. If they don't practice well, then they might not play as much.
Good.
Thank you, Coach.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate you.